is that corner right there between my door and my flags. And I can't find my usual stand, so we're using a different stand. Usually the flags are very obvious and the
Oh,
door
I
is
see
very
them.
obvious.
I see the flags.
I know, but I want the homophobes to see it. And when I relax, it vanishes. So I don't know what to do. But we're here and the show must go on. Oh my goodness. Hi, Kevin. So
Hi.
I know you know that you have one of the most unusual names. Oh, yeah. Okay. If I stand right here and don't move.
Yeah. Hello,
But I
Dr.
have so much
Lulu.
ADHD, I gotta move around. But you have a very
Love it.
unusual name, Kevin and Shah together.
Yeah,
Explain
yeah.
your name right now.
Oh, great question. Great question. So I grew up in India. I was born in India, grew up there, and my parents wanted to name both my brother, my older brother, and I, names that were different, not Indian regular names. And so my brother's name is Jubin, which is like a German influence name, and they named me Kevin, which was very funny because Shah is very Indian, like Gujarati
Very
name from,
forward thinking,
yeah.
very, because I'm looking for Amit, you know?
Yeah, so really funny when Home Alone came out. Remember Macaulay Culkin's character was Kevin. So when that happened, oh my gosh, because I was the only Kevin in like that city I knew of, like that was like in our circles. So everyone would crumple my cheeks and make me do that Macaulay Culkin cheek thing.
That is crazy. In another world, that would be called bullying.
Well, I mean, I was okay with it. I enjoyed the
The
attention. It was good.
attention. Welcome to
Yeah.
the party, Gab says. I
Hey,
don't know
Gavin.
you. Oh, you
Gav
know
is,
this person?
I know Gavin. I
Hi,
love Gav.
Gavin.
Yeah.
So, moment of transparency here. My Facebook and my Instagram were hacked 3-4 months ago. So I lost 5,000 on Instagram and 10
Oh,
on
wow.
Facebook. So I lost a total of 15,000 followers. So now I'm just like not even at 300, but hey,
Oh,
I'm
I
showing
love
up.
it.
I'm showing up
Yeah.
every day.
Your content. I love what your mission is, your message in helping parents see queerness as a celebration. I am with you for that. I am
I
loving
am
you for
here
that.
for all of it. So welcome to the Pride Corner, our inviting in stories and more. So the show used to be called Our Coming Out Stories. And I said to myself, Self, what you're in finna do is write a book called Invited In, and then you're talking about coming out. No more. So welcome to the party. I love Gab says. They're following me right now. The first question I'm going to, oh, Gab has saw you on here just listening for a couple of minutes before I get a comment. Oh, Gavin, you need to stay. But you know, you can always come back and watch it
Yeah.
on the replay. So
Yeah, that's what.
let's
Yeah,
do this.
we'll share the replay for sure.
Yes, we'll
Yeah.
do that. So my name is Dr. Lulu, aka the Momatrician. If you didn't know, I am a real doctor. I'm a pediatrician. I'm also a life coach. I like to go by parents coach these days. I have to explain that. Gav says they will be back. Yes. And I work specifically with parents of queers. My life's mission is to help parents with self-acceptance first, and then affirmation and support of their young queer tots, because somebody has to do it. So
Hmm.
I am proudly one of one. My middle son, a long time ago, had the homework to search all of Google so we could find someone else doing what I'm doing so I could copy them. And when he got to page 23 of Google, he said, Mom, there's nobody else. And I was like,
Yeah.
no. But this is a true story, true statement. I'm one of one. And so in a way, I'm blazing a trail, but sometimes I wish I had someone to copy. So I'm the one Black female physician,
Oh,
mom of a
wow.
trans child, queer
Oh my God.
person, pediatrician, Nigerian, African, West African. I mean, I'm
Oh.
one of one. So
Oh.
yeah.
I know one Nigerian name, Oguchukwu.
Ah, that's a
Oguchukwu.
Nigerian. That's an Igbo person. That's my
Igbo,
tribe.
I know, Igbo person. Yeah, I know.
Yes.
Yeah. I worked with a Nigerian person who's a friend of mine. he went by Julian, but his name was Oguchukwu and Ibu, and so I would learn some stuff from him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so the name is Ugochukwu, and actually my middle son's name is my dad named him Ugochukwu. So
Oh,
Ugochukwu
really?
means I want to say like the pride of God or something like that. Like,
Something like that. That's what I
yeah,
remember.
like
Yeah.
God's pride or
Yeah.
God's
And
prowess.
I have another
So,
friend who joined, Melvin. I just want to say hi, Melvin, and love you.
I was gonna give him a shout out too. Hi, Miliori. I usually like to go with they, them until I know people's pronouns. So,
Yeah.
Kevin, what are your pronouns so I don't mispronounce?
Oh, yeah. He, him, his. Yeah.
Yes, very good. And my pronouns are she, her, hers. And the show is called The Pride Corner, our coming out stories and more. But I prefer to say our inviting in or letting in or stepping out, however you want to say it, stories and more. So, Kevin, obviously you can't be on my show unless you are queer. But that's not true because I also have parents of queers coming on my show. I have allies coming on my show. So it's no longer as exclusive as
Yeah.
it used to be. This ideally would have been episode like 98, but I lost everything. So we're like episode 3 now. So.
I love it. I love new starts. It's an opportunity to grow in new ways. I love that.
Yes. So obviously, the first question is something fun or twisted or weird or exciting or different about you. What would that be, Kevin?
Oh, interesting question. Something fun, twisted, exciting, weird about me. Okay. I would say I speak 4 languages, so that's one of those things. It's fun. Something weird is I also go by Captain Empathy, which is one of my
I
personas
saw that.
to help promote empathy and share that anyone can learn the superpower of empathy and become Captain Empathy themselves. Something twisted. That's an interesting one. Twisted. I would say. I I guess I like getting tied up sometimes when we're having fun, like with my husband and stuff. That's part of the twisted, I guess. Yeah.
Okay, so first of all, before you go any further,
Yeah.
you are obviously extra because everyone else I've had, all 97 people, only gave me 1.
Oh.
And so, but not Kevin. No, not Captain Empathy. This is amazing because usually I have to. I guess I misspoke with you because most people when I say tell me something weird about you, you're like, what do you mean? I said, well, something twisted. They're like, what do you mean? I said, well, something's different. I have to like put somebody who says, okay,
Oh.
well, let me see. I swim in the shower. I'm like, what? But not Kevin. I
Yeah.
love it. I love it. I usually use the one and only. I have 3 nipples, which makes me really,
Yay!
yes,
Yay! Oh,
it makes me really different and twisted and weird and all of that put together. So yes,
I love it. Yes, 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 yes,
thank
yes.
you so much for sharing. So Kevin, what part of the world do you live in?
I live in Seattle, Washington, on the West
Seattle,
Coast. Yeah,
Washington. Very good.
yeah.
I was in Seattle in April,
Oh, you were?
virtually.
Oh, virtually.
Yeah, virtually. I gave a talk to a place called Lambert's House. Is a
Oh,
safe
I
house
know that.
for.
I know that. Yeah, that's a great organization. Oh my
It's a
gosh,
safe
that's
house for
amazing.
like LGBT kids. I help with their training. Yes,
Yeah, yes. Oh, I love you for that. It's such a good organization. Yes.
yes. And let me tell you, when I finished doing the training, it was virtual. I had, I don't know, 35 people that just kind of sent like a feedback. They're like, her energy, her energy. This one person said, in all my days of being on Zoom, this was like the most engaging Zoom. The one else said, this was like the most, I mean, they were just like, I was like, oh my God, and I didn't have to pay y'all to say that. So hopefully after COVID is over, I get to go in person maybe next year
Yeah.
to do it in person. Then I'll get to meet you and we have dinner together.
Yes, and I completely agree with the energy. It's contagious, it's powerful, it's impactful. It's what I needed today. So thank you for that.
And so usually the first quarter of the show is just this, what we're doing, kind of sort of getting to, obviously the topic is heavy. I've had a few of my guests who I've had to stop the show because it got really heavy.
Yeah,
I've had a
yeah,
few of my guests who we've had to come back and do volume 2 because we just couldn't get, you know.
yeah.
I've been blessed to have another podcast called Suicide Pages, which was even more intense. So
Mm.
this is actually like flowers compared to that. But we are at the quarter mark. The show is called
Yeah.
The Pride Corner. We're going to take a little break and come back because we can. This is my pretend TV show, if you didn't know. So we're going to take a little break, pay some bills, and come back. And we're going to talk to Kevin Shah, Captain Empathy himself, in the building. I'm so excited. This is like going to be awesome. So grab your water, grab your tissue maybe, tell a friend, share the video. We'll be right back. And we're back.
You're so funny.
I know you
Oh
didn't
my
see
God.
that coming. You didn't see
I
that
didn't see
coming.
that coming. I was like, okay, I was in for the ride. I was in for the journey because I was like, let's see how this is happening because I know
Let's
it's
see.
awesome.
So sometimes I go and I get my water.
Yeah.
Sometimes I don't know.
I got my water as well. So yeah, I
So
got my
so
water.
get your water. That's it. So sometimes I go. I mean, my dog is scratching. Most times I just make the announcement because I'm trying to get into this space where the universe knows that I really, really want that TV show on CNN or BET or somewhere. I really, really want
Yeah.
a show
Or
where a
Dr.
black,
Lulu TV. Dr.
yes,
Lulu
a
TV.
black
Yeah.
queer woman is talking black queer stuff. It needs to be happening, and I'm here for all of it. So, universe, you have been served. All right. So, needless to say, one quick question, and then I'll let you kick into the serious stuff. Why did you choose to come on this show? And Dr. Lulu told me is not an answer. Why did you choose
No,
to come
no,
on this
no.
show?
I because of your mission, because what you told me about, which is the work you're doing to help parents. And so you found me, I think, from a post I had done on LinkedIn about pride and how pride is important in every space, and especially for queer people who are oppressed. And you
Of
talked
color,
about
of
of
color.
color, and you talked about how you help parents find their pride for their queer kids. And I think that is so powerful. And for me, I want to help in every space people understand the impact of empathy. And so for me, I thought your energy, your love for the community, being part of it, I couldn't say no.
Namaste for that. Thank you so much. Indeed, some will say, well, you made me do it. And that's true. When my eldest kid came, they were like, Mom, well, you told me to. Yeah, I know.
The
I
kids will do
know.
that. The kids
But
will do
why did you
that.
really come? So this is so powerful because I watched a few of your own podcast interviews where you had been on other people's podcasts. And I don't know if you have a podcast your own, but I know I saw a few that you were on other people, and I was like, Captain Empathy. Then I Googled it and you came out. I was like, what? Okay, this is legit. So that was so cool that you are Googleable. But obviously, we're here to talk some serious business to maybe help save one life. We're going to go for it. I started doing this show June 1st last year. And I thought I was just going to do it for Pride Month. I was going to do it every day for Pride Month and then we'll stop. And then by March of this year, I was still doing it because there were just so many people. It was initially every day, then every week, and then we had guests booked indefinitely. And I was like, okay, people want to talk about this. So I'm so excited, especially in today's climate.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
So let's
yes.
make it happen.
Yes.
So Kevin Shah, what is your coming out story?
So my coming out story, it's sort of in like there's two parts to it. There's the first part where growing up in India, I really just never came out to myself. There was never a moment where like, oh, I am gay or I'm straight. I just gravitated towards men as I was young, towards other people of my gender, and I sort of just explored that. But I did that in very secrecy, underground. It was very much a shame-driven approach. No one talked about it, and didn't I remember I would go to like I would lie to my mom, like I'm going to my friend's house to study, or I'm doing all those things, but I would just go hang out. I had met some gay friends online, so I would go hang out with them or something like that, or meet some people who are looking for sex online and then try to go meet up with them. And that was part of that journey for myself. But I never thought about the moment like I was like I will ever be able to come out to my parents, because it was always the pressure of marriage, marriage, kids, right? And
Don't I know that? I'm Nigerian. We have the same culture. Oh my
yeah,
God,
yeah.
yes.
And,
Oh.
and so I used to keep telling, like, I remember from childhood, I would just keep saying, I never want to get married. I don't want to get married. That's not for me, not for me, not for me, not for me. And so when I got into United States in my college, I came here for my bachelor's degree. And so I had the privilege to be able to come here. And so I picked a place that I didn't know anyone in, furthest away from any relative, from anyone. So I was like, okay, so I picked Florida. So that's where I went. So I went to Florida for my college. And I remember I'm like, okay, I was like, am I going to come out here? Am I going to live openly? But then I came, and in Florida, I didn't feel safe. I didn't feel safe in the university coming out. There were some other folks that were more out, but me being a queer Indian immigrant, I felt very much a sense of that, wait, if I come out, the other Indian folks are gonna not support me, or I'm not gonna be part of that community. How is this gonna go? Or my parents will find out what's gonna happen. So it was very much only coming out to friends or smaller group of people. So I was still out to more people, but it was individually, like, oh, and I had my best friend I didn't tell. And I find out later, because some other friend of his outed him to me, that he was also gay. And then I was like, holy shit, like, oh my God, this friend of mine that I've known for now 6 months, I didn't know was gay. And so, like, I'll tell you a story there, like this exemplifies. So the college was in Melbourne, Florida. And in Melbourne, Florida, there was one gay bar at that time. It was called Cold Keg, one gay bar, and with all the queer people would go. And I am not 21. I'm like 18 that time, 18, 19. I didn't have a car. And it was about I can't remember how long, but it took me about 2 hour walk from the university to the gay bar. And I planned it because I wanted to go to a gay bar. I didn't have friends I could go with, no car. And I didn't want to spend money on taxi because I was like, it's expensive at that time being a student. And so
Yes.
I walked for 2 hours from the university and to the gay bar. I got there early, and then I hung out, and then I see this friend of mine show up later, and I panic. I am like, holy shit, what, oh my God, what happened? So I hide behind people. It was a little crowded, so I was able to hide. And then I was like, okay, I got to get out of here, because it's so internalized homophobia. I didn't think that this person is here who's also gay.
Because
I
yeah,
just like
exactly.
and so
Exactly.
I was like, holy shit,
Exactly.
they're gonna find out. So I called a cab, and I left early, and I couldn't enjoy that. That was my first like gay bar experience in US. And later I found out he was gay. And so that was sort of a little bit of my journey. And then I didn't come out to my parents. I graduated from college. So 4 years later, I'm still friends with them, and I've explored some of my culture and my experiences as a gay man. And then I graduated, and this is in 2009. The big recession is happening, the financial collapse. As an immigrant, I was having a hard time finding a job that would sponsor my visa and keep me here in the United States. And I wanted to stay here. I did not want to go back. I did not want to go back to marriage. I did not want to go back to a culture where I had to go back and hide in shame and not be myself again. And so I stayed here looking for jobs, and I had about 3 months to find a job before I had to leave. And I was working on it, and during that time, my parents started getting applicants for marriage, arranged marriage. So they started, like, people like, oh, your child has now got a degree. And so we literally people would send like resumes for marriage from their daughters or their people. And my mom would ask, I'm like, I don't want to get married. I don't want to get married. No, no, no. And so it was one of these Skype calls like this that I was on with my mom. And then finally I said, I don't want to get married. She's like, why? This is the first time she asked why. after all these years. And then I didn't say anything. I just got really quiet. And then in that moment, she's like, why? What is wrong? And they're like, are you gay? And throughout my life, I kept lying to my mom. I lied to my mom throughout. I learned lying from my mom. And so I kept lying to her. And this was a moment where I paused and I just said, yes. And I was quiet. I never planned on coming out in that moment. I never planned on it, but there was a moment, there was a event that happened in my first year in college that changed my life. It was a abusive incident that I was in, and that is the moment where I decided I will never lie again. So after this is when she asked me a question. I told her the truth, and her reaction in that moment was um, shocked. She was quiet for a little bit, and then I remember she's asking questions like, "Why didn't you tell me before?" And she starts going back all the moments where like there was those those moments where she's like, oh wait, this could have been a symbol of me being gay. And so they she like asked me like, oh, are you a pedophile? Like, because that's what in movies in India show gay men as portrayed as pedophiles. Or she's like, why didn't you tell me before? We could go to a doctor and have you fixed. And and so it was this big moment. She tells my dad, and my dad doesn't talk much. He's a very quiet person in general. He doesn't share emotions or feelings or anything. So he didn't say much, and they were all quiet. And in that moment, we talked a little bit. She went back to some of the past things. Was that because you were gay and this and that, and you lied to me and all that? So it became more about how I betrayed her, and then that sort of started where she then told my grandfather. My grandfather was like to go find if there's someone he can find, because my grandfather was very influential in India. He knew like the prime minister. He knew lots of people. He was very influential. He was like an activist. He was a freedom fighter, and he worked with like Indira Gandhi and all these people. So he was very influential. So he started like 12 schools to help spread education. And so he knew a lot of people. So he's like, oh, help him find something. And so that started the journey of people like my mom trying to find a way to solve this problem.
Okay, because I wanted to know what was it trying to solve? Okay, the gay problem.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
being
I
gay. Yeah, the
get it.
fact that that could be fixed, that
Yes.
like an issue that, and so in that we had to start sharing articles and media about how that's not a thing. And my brother knew. My brother always kind of knew, um, and so he was supportive, and like he would make fun and stuff. But I know it came from a place of love. He just doesn't. He's also like a little bit more like dad, where he can't share emotions and feelings as
Mhm.
easily. So he also helped during that journey. So it took about 2 to 3 years for my parents to come around to
They
that
came
idea.
around.
They did. I think there was some documentary my mom watched that I still don't know what it was, and it spoke in her language, I think, and that's what was important. And so after that, she came around, and to the point where I was able to share stories when I was going on a date with a guy. I could tell her, and eventually they even paid for part of the wedding with my husband and I, and they came to our wedding here in the United States in Florida. And so and it's
That
and
is huge.
yeah, so they went through a growth journey, and I took my husband to India, and in 2019, I believe, we went to India together. That was the first time, and he was welcomed in with the all family. We went and visited all our elders and relatives, and this is the moment that sort of exemplifies what you're doing and why what you're doing is important. Is um, my grandfather, my dad's dad's sister. So she's now over 100 years old, and she's still alive, and she doesn't speak English. She doesn't understand the concept. I don't think she ever understood the concept of gay or any of this. She's just a genuinely just loving person, unconditional love. Even my mom has conditional love sometimes, but she is just unconditional love. In that we go to visit her. She's not very well, but she came out to see me because she loves me. We went and we sat down, and she sat between my husband Paul and I, and she sat between us. She can't understand Paul. Paul can't understand her. She's barely talking. And then she takes my hand, she takes Paul's hand, and then puts it in her hand together. And that moment was witnessed by our extended family, like these 20 other people. And that is what unconditional love from parents and celebration. It wasn't just I love you, it was I celebrate you, I support you. And it
That's
was
the
the same.
affirmation part.
Yeah,
That's the affirmation part, because it's
yeah,
accept is one. Affirmation is the next level up. I love that. And then support. So
yeah.
powerful. So I was hoping that's where you were going, and I'm so happy that that's where you were going with that just that little piece of that. I am hardly ever short of words. If that ever happens, call 911. This is one time. Is she still alive?
Yeah, she is. She is just an incredible human being that I love. She was part of my family. Like there was a time where I spent just her and I for like 3 months. We just spent time together when my parents were taking my brother to another school in a different state. So while they were settling him down there, I was alone for parts of it, and then she stayed with us. And I remember we formed such a great bond. And like her cutest thing I remember, she still does is well, is she would the way to make me laugh was she would be like, "Oh, I'll show you how to dance," and she would sit and dance like this. And there's this cute old lady that just is just incredible human being, and I have not met a human being who symbolizes, exemplifies love like she does.
I'm so glad that she's still alive to have enough time to witness the two of you, because I don't know much about her, but I'm sure that was a moment even for you was pivotal when it comes
Oh
to
yeah,
affirming that, okay, all of the pain, all of the tears, I was writing down some notes, all of the not feeling safe and just never ever having really to come out, being Indian, hanging out with gays or not gays, running, hiding, internalized homophobic phobia, right? And even when you don't want to be homophobic to yourself, you find yourself being homophobic to yourself, because it's like, I gotta squash it. Shame based is so critical, and then it's coming back now with a vengeance. I don't even know what to do,
yeah.
and I think I've been trying to learn the word or the meaning of the word gaslighting, or maybe phrase
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
gaslighting. I Is that what your mom did? Would that be when she kind of um turn it
I think
around to turn it around, like turn around the part
yeah.
of like, well, why did you lie about it, and why didn't you?
No,
I mean, is
yeah,
that
yeah,
this?
I don't think in this situation it was gaslighting. I think the
Mhm.
gaslighting is making me believe something that I am not believing.
Okay.
She
It's
didn't do
very-
that.
Hmm.
So like, but I think what she did was she centered it on herself. It was a
Made it
narcissistic
about her.
response.
Yes. Yeah.
She made
All,
it
all
about
day.
her.
All day.
Yeah.
All day. It's funny you said that, because I mean, I don't know if you know this, but this is my new book. It's not
Oh my
quite out
God.
yet, but you're going to have to get it and make sure that the world knows
Do you
about
have,
it.
are you going to do an audiobook as well?
Yes, I'm planning on, for this one, I'm planning on doing it. The very first line, I know you can't read it. It says, "Mom, it's not about you."
I love the cover, by the way. It's really
Thank you.
cool.
Thank you.
Oh my
The
God,
very
beautiful.
first line says, "Mom, it's not about you." And that's what I did too. I made it about me, in the sense I was like, wait, what does that mean? What's my mom gonna say? What's grandpa gonna say? What I made it everything. And one of the reasons I'm writing this book, is that I want people to, I've made the mistakes already, so you don't have to. And then the
Yeah.
biggest question to ask is always, but why? Why did my child not feel safe to come out to me, a self-proclaimed, self-professed suicide prevention activist, queer person? Welcome on Shwanda, welcome. Why did my child not do that? And so I want parents to know that coming out, sharing, inviting in is mainly about safety. And your
Mm.
child
Mm.
has to feel safe. If your child doesn't feel safe, it's not happening. And it doesn't mean, and I might even be affirming. Maybe my spouse is not affirming. Me and my spouse might be affirming. Maybe the neighbors are not affirming. So it's sometimes multifactorial.
Yeah.
It's not always because the parent is not affirming. A lot of times it is, but sometimes it's also, well, Mom, I don't want to tell you because you're going to tell Auntie, or, you're going to paint the house rainbows or something. a lot of times kids take on these things and just kind of blow it up because they're just like when parents get divorced.
Yeah,
Kids
yeah,
always think that they did something. So we're going to stop there because it's at the bottom of the hour. We're
yeah.
going to take a quick break. The show is called The Pride Corner, our coming out stories, our inviting in stories, our stepping up, stepping out, owning, whatever, stories and more. And my guest, it's already kind of hit the ground running. Incredible story. One of the few Indians that I've had, I think maybe the only Indian I've had in nearly 100 guests. I've had one Indian and one Hispanic, one Latino, one
Oh,
each. You
oh,
are an
wow.
Indian. I've had someone from the Philippines. I've had people from the UK. I've had people from Singapore. I've
Oh,
never
wow.
been Indian. So this is so amazing, so powerful, which is why I really wanted you to come because representation matters. There's one Indian parent who might see this video. There's one Indian child who might see this video and say, yes, if he can do it, I can do it too. The show is called The Pride Corner. You, if you're not watching this show yet, I don't know what you're waiting for. If you're not following my guests, I don't know what you're waiting for because there's more. We're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back. Get a sip of water, my dear guest, because this is, yes! And we are back. So, oh my God, Kevin, I am dying here because all these things you talked about, the shame-driven part is the biggest thing that we're having in today's America, today's world. And because America usually leads in the country called Uganda, it's a freaking death penalty.
Mm.
Yeah, if they find out, it's death penalty. Are you kidding me? Now, people want to make a big fuss, and I say, wait, in America is a death penalty. If you're a black trans woman,
Trans woman. Yep.
yeah. And
Yep.
today, with all the homophobic rhetoric and all the laws, people are waiting. People have been killed at Paul's nightclub. That was a death penalty because they were gay. Okay, people have been killed. I mean, it's not new, and it's not different. So I don't want people to always think, oh well, that's Africa. No, this is Texas.
No,
We had a pastor 2-3 weeks ago in Dallas tell his church people to kill all gays execution style. And that's what God said.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And
So
what you mentioned Pulse, and Pulse was my nightclub. Pulse was where I used to go every Wednesday night because I lived an hour away from Pulse. Every Wednesday, college night, it was college night, and we used to go. That was where I celebrated my 21st birthday. I was incredibly depressed and drunk. That's the place where I felt myself and also hated myself because gay culture is also about that. And my best friend was there the night of the shooting. He left 20 minutes before the shooting started. And a lot of people it's something that is the place I kissed my husband for the first time was Pulse. So Pulse is when you mention Pulse, it is absolutely that like what is happening right now. There was a shooting in I believe it was in Netherlands. I forgot which country in Europe recently on Pride weekend, and it was at a gay bar there. And it is this what you mentioned in Uganda. It's this fascism against queer folks, especially. I love that you keep saying black trans women. Absolutely, the black trans women are why I can live happily, and they have given me the platform and the space to be myself. And they're the ones that are being killed and crucified by the communities. And it is absolutely you're absolutely right. Like life for people I have seen black trans women is so painful and challenging. So many barriers, no privileges, lack of privileges. If we can't be. I remember, like, I talk about this. If I can't be myself, I'd rather be dead.
yes, and that's one of the big questions I ask parents. I said, who do you know in today's climate? Who do you know that is in their right mind? Who will say, let me see, of all the things I can be, let me stay. Now, for real, like, who do you think will even like venture there. If that doesn't make you go, what will? I mean, you are saying so much. First of all, I didn't know about the pulse. I mean, your relationship with the pulse, because that means you could have. I can only imagine, like, you probably were in shock for like a year or more,
Oh, I
because
still am. I
it
still
could have,
am.
yeah,
Yeah,
it could
yeah.
have easily been you, not because San Antonio is necessarily safer. I mean, people just have guns because it's the latest toy, you know. It's the latest, I don't know, musical instrument. I don't know what to say. But people just, so they just want to kill you. And it's sadly, I happen to also be a mother of a Black trans woman. So this is my fight, if there's ever been one. Which is why people say, well, why did you leave medicine? Well, why not leave medicine? Is there a better time to fight? Is there a better time to speak up? I have the voice, I have the energy, I can find the platform. Are you kidding me right now? Like, if there's anyone to educate people, cry if I have to. It's me. It's me. I used to cry and ask God, why did you give me a gay son? Years ago. And God was like chuckling. God was like, if you only knew. Right? Yeah. If you only knew what I have in stock for you, you would not complain about your gay son, because you'd be like, you know. And there's a joke that a fake joke that I made up where the parent says, hi, God. Oh, just so you know, I'm a huge LGBT ally. And then God is like, good, because I made Mikey bisexual. And then the parent's like, what? No, I mean, yeah, what? God, no, yeah. So this is so, it's like, it hits home for me. I really want to do like a moment of silence, just because I didn't even know you had that connection with Pulse right now. Like, I'm like, just like, I don't know what to say right now.
Yeah, and on my Instagram, if you go, I wrote a spoken word about Pulse, and it's called Response, and it's about Pulse, and it's about that night of that story, because I remember waking up, and I was supposed to go that night, but I got lazy. I was like, I don't want to drive today, and so I didn't go that night to Pulse, and so my friend did go, and and my husband was working early. He had to get up early for a shift, and he wakes me up, and the story in the spoken word is about how he woke me up on the phone, and I'm like trying to call my friend, and no one's answering, and I'm like freaking out, watching the news at 4 a.m., 5 a.m. as this police is still trying to figure out what's happening there. And so it was, I remember the moment, and um, Pulse was a big part of my coming out journey. It was a big part of me, and so when that attack happened, it 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 further pushed me into, like, I still think about when I go to gay bars. Even here, I feel like unsafe.
You know, I don't know what to say. I'm just really, so nothing could have prepared me for this part of this conversation. Usually this is a part of the show where I ask the guest, did you feel accepted? That's out the door right now, because this is so real. And oh my God. It's funny you said that, because I actually, as a pediatrician, I have a clinic that I cover in Uvalde, where the
Oh
shooting at the
wow.
school was.
Yeah.
And I mean, I only go, I'm a medical director, so I only go, like, I don't know, once every 8 weeks. But it's Uvalde. So I could have been there. This is just like how the world is so full of hate coming out of a pandemic is what I don't get. Like,
Yeah.
literally, for anybody who's alive today, your life was spared for a reason. And this is how we repay the universe. Let me just get a gun and just shoot people at a parade because I can.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this is one where I also practice empathy for those people who did do this, who are the shooters, in that I think these are people who are not feel seen, not feel heard. They probably have parents, just like queer parents. They probably have parents that are passing on generational trauma from one generation to the next. They're passing on all the toxic behaviors that they've learned, that not sharing their feelings, not letting them feel seen or heard, not letting them be themselves, and then not addressing mental health, not addressing all of these things. And so that starts bothering. Like, here's the reality. Um, if if I had similar parents, there's no difference between me and them. I probably would do the same thing, because what probably got them is we all need community. Humans need community.
Yeah.
And so they found community with the wrong people.
But even I was waiting for you to say that. I was waiting for, but even those who have community with the wrong people. I was waiting for you to say that.
Yeah. And they're driven by narcissism. They're
that's
driven
it. Yeah,
by,
that's it.
They're like, my perspective matters, and why am I being left behind? Not understanding that this is we are on a floating rock, and we don't know what's happening. We're all trying to figure life out together. It's all complicated. It's not simple. It's not black and white. And if we just came together and shared our feelings, we could be happier together.
Yes. And if you don't know something, seek knowledge. Even if you don't, you see, that's the thing. And I tell the parents that I coach this, even if you don't gain understanding, seek knowledge. A lot of people misunderstand the two words. First of all, there's a reason why they are two separate words. Knowledge does not equate to understanding. But seek knowledge first. And maybe or maybe not, you might never get understanding. But when you dig your heels in and say, no, I must understand first, it's a huge disservice. Because the truth is, there's so many things that you don't understand. I don't understand why somebody's going to just go shoot people at a parade. I don't have to understand it to know that it's not right. So that's the knowledge part. I want the parents to seek knowledge. My child is gay, bisexual, queer, pansexual, demisexual, asexual. My child is such. What is it? Knowledge. And then maybe if your child even understands, because a lot of kids do not even know. And there's one of my favorite pictures in the living room here that I mostly show people when my eldest child was only 4. And I told her and my second son, I said, her and my second child, which is my son, to go to the room. We're playing parents. I said, go to my closet and get parents' shoes so we can do this thing. My eldest got my high heels. My middle son got my another pair of high heels that looked very much like men's shoes. Just something as little as that, a little subtle message that this kid has always identified with this. And then all I would say is, stop acting like a girl. Stop acting like a girl. And now I realize, wait, and then she would say, well, Mom, how do girls act? And I'll be like, the way you're acting. And she's like, I'm just, this is just me. I was like, no, it's not, And that's why I said, I'm not here because, oh, I got everything right. I did it right. No, I'm here because once you know better, it's time to do better. And the suicide rates, if nothing else, is huge.
It got higher. The numbers are, especially for trans women, trans people of color. Yeah.
Trans and non-binary and just gender non-conformers, which is another reason why I want people to understand when your child says that they're gender variant, they are. Like literally no one is going to just say, of all the things that can be, I want to be trans. No one. I mean, there's even a 2-year-old child knows right now that that's just not anything that anybody wants.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing your story today. It's been amazing.
Thank you for the space and the questions and the curiosity and the love and the understanding.
Yeah. So we're going to go on a quick break because it's at the quarter of the hour. The show is called The Pride Corner, our inviting in stories and more, where I talk to queer folks who really open up about the reality of them trying to live in authenticity. How difficult, how easy, how confusing, how, I don't know, straight the path was or not. You'll meet me here every Thursday. I'm still trying to figure out what time it is. I think next week is like 1 p.m. I don't know, but it's going to be on Thursdays. I don't know what to say because my guest truly has taken the words from me today. Thank you so much for sharing. We're going to be right back. That's it. We're going to be right back. And so as the show comes to its close, this is the quarter where we ask you, first of all, to tell us where we can find you. How can they follow you on social media, follow the work that you do? I specifically do not talk about what people do on this job because it's unnecessary. It's
Hmm.
irrelevant. But where can they find you? How can they follow your work? Number one. And number two, what will you say to the young Kevin? And
Oh.
then what will you say to your mother or to your father? Usually we ask you to feel accepted, and
Yeah.
you kind of put that together in your coming out, which is great. But what will you, so those three things, how can they find you and
Yeah.
follow you and support you? What will you say to your younger Kevin self? What will you say to your parents today,
Yeah.
looking back? And then last but not least, will you come back? Yeah, just kidding. Well, anyway, go ahead and tell us.
Yeah, yeah. So follow LinkedIn is the best place. Just search for Kevin Shah on LinkedIn or at Shaw Kevin in there. And that's on Twitter as well. I think LinkedIn is where I spend most of my time in learning more about what I do and the journey. Or if you're on Instagram, Kevin Shah 2018. But LinkedIn is probably the best. The second question, what would I tell my younger self? I recently thought about this as well, is like I would tell my younger self to learn empathy and and tell myself that you are narcissistic because you are growing up in a narcissistic institution and a system of narcissism. And so you are narcissistic and you need to unlearn it because these two things, learning empathy and becoming aware of my narcissism and toxic behaviors, would have changed my life, would have made me like I was miserable. I was planning my death at the age of 30 because I was like I can't live this way. And I think these are the things that helped me unblock it, and it was a long journey to get there. So that's probably the two things I would tell myself, because I was I was so self-centered, and all those negative, toxic things that we learned because of the system and the generational trauma that we come up from. Um,
When is the book coming out, you know?
I mean, I want to read your book first because I mean it
Okay,
looks amazing.
okay,
Yeah,
so we can decide that you can read my
yeah.
book, but I'm also a book writing coach. So let me know if you
Oh,
ever
that's
want
good.
to.
Oh, that's good to know.
That's an amazing story that needs to be told for all the little Indian children who
Yeah,
you and I know
yeah,
are stuck in a prison that is created.
yeah, yeah.
If they can't get out of the prison, they can at least read about someone who did.
Yeah,
And so
yeah.
your story can give them permission to at least just breathe and dream and just be, right?
Yeah. No, I appreciate that. Yeah. And well, that's why I keep doing things like these so I can share my story. So, like you said, even if one person gets it, that's huge. That's amazing.
What will you say
Um,
to your mother though?
um,
Because you told us she plays a pivotal role in your
yeah,
childhood. She
yeah, she
taught you,
did.
whether she liked it or not, inadvertently taught you how to lie, and you perfected the act. So what will
Yeah.
you say to your mom, or that mom then, who she was then?
Oh, then I don't know. I'm actually in the process. So I haven't visited my parents for now almost 3 years.
Well, we
I
know why. There was COVID, yeah.
Yeah, but also I've done that intentionally because it is not fun going back and spending time with my family. It has been a challenge in the past. And so I am going in September. I planned a trip and I'm working towards going back and having these conversations with them. And I honestly I would like what I would tell my parents or my mom is I know that you did what you thought was best because that's what you've learned. That's what the system you grew up in. I don't hold anything against you. I have no negative feelings. It what happened. It's unfortunate, but that's the reality. I didn't choose you. You didn't choose me. We. I know this is what it is. You've come through a long journey. What I'm going to be continuing to do now is I'm going to be honest and share my feelings with you. And so you know the impact of what you're doing to me is. And so that's sort of what I would say.
Fantastic. Fantastic. And what will you say to any child who is listening right now? May or may not be a Kevin kind of child, maybe
Yeah.
even have an
Any,
accepting parent. What will you say to I don't know, a 7-year-old, a 9-year-old in today's world, in today's reality?
yeah. Oh, wow. I would say when we grow up, and it's happened to me, and I noticed that with parents as well. One of the first things parents have taught kids is to lie. Like, let's just use Santa Claus as an example. For like 12 years, 12 years of their life, they'll convince the kid that Santa Claus is real. And this is like a big universal example, right? And then they'll say, oh, it's not real. Tooth fairy is another example. These are the big lies. I'm like, but they're small. I was standing on the train station at the public train station here, and I heard a dad tell the kid, like, oh, if you stand on this yellow part, they announce that you should get off. That's not true. It was just arbitrary. There's no connection to it. But even though I know the dad knows that's not true, just to make sure that the kid doesn't stand on the yellow line, he created this lie. So immediately, what I would tell kids is, know that we grow into a system where we continuously lie to each other. So the first thing we need to do is run away from lying. Build a foundation of truth. And then the second thing is be vulnerable. Vulnerability is the strength, is courageous, is brave, and then learn empathy.
Oh my God, I have to say something. Hold on. I'm so happy you said that, because, believe it or not, on the 30th of July, look, I'm having an event.
Oh, it's upside down.
I'm having an event called the Vulnerability in Parenting Workshop. Wow, because I realized what you said. My dad growing up, but just so you know, Instagram is going to cut it off once it's 1 hour. So we got 6 minutes. But my dad growing up never showed any emotion, never showed me any kind of, it was just, everything had to be right. Does that make, like, it was perfect. I had to be perfect. I didn't know anything about not being perfect. And then I grew up and like, wait, that was bullshit. Like, no, it's not possible. Like, I'm not perfect. I don't have all the answers. Even today as a parent, you know, Kevin, I love you. Thank you so much. We are going to meet in real life, and I'm going to hug your neck. I'm going to hug you so long. If you find any events that need speakers over there in Seattle, holla at me, because I got to get the word out there.
My mind is racing because I want your energy in more places.
Thank you so much for coming. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Tell people about my event. Tell people about my support group. Is that upside down also? My support group for parents. And just keep on being you. I don't know how much more time Instagram is going to give us, but I wanted to just mention something. I know you are all about empathy. I'm all about compassion. And I talk about the fact that compassion is empathy's big brother, because compassion includes the aspect of how can I help, which is what I want to do with parents. But thank you for starting the journey with empathy. Thank you so much for coming today. It has been, I knew it was going to be fun. I just knew it. I just felt it, and it was better than I thought. Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for helping me keep my dream alive of just talking to queer folks and sharing their stories. Thank you for who you are, and for being so vulnerable today, talking about all the things that you did to hurt yourself. I mean, there's so much things you said. I was like, oh my God. But you said them without thinking about it, because it needs to be said. What are you keeping it there? I mean, I did on LinkedIn. I said, you know, I had an abortion. I had an abortion because it gave me options. I put it out there. Okay, that's it. I said it. Nobody died, you know? I love that you went so deep today. Thank you so much. And tell your husband I said, hey, we're going to have dinner one night. It's going to happen. And if you're ever in Texas, come to San Antonio, and I promise you I'll cook you some mango chutney or goat roti or curry rice or something.
Oh, thank you. I love you so much. Thank you for finding me. And I feel privileged to be able to find you and be connected with you. So thank you for that.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next Thursday with another exciting guest. The show is called The Pride Corner. That corner right there, our inviting in stories and more. My name is Dr. Lulu, aka the Malnutrition, often imitated but never freaking duplicated. I'll see you all next time.